Hello, and welcome back to the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Michael, and today I want to talk to you about a game instead of just Daryl. Other people in this group have ideas and thoughts on games. Can't let Daryl hog all the spotlight, all the limelight here. So we're going to dive into Little Town Hero today, the newest game from Game Freak, their solo published game. It's out already, obviously. And so we have some ideas and thoughts based on their newish IP versus their traditional Pokemon games that are coming out later this year. So with a new game comes a new art style. The premise of the whole game is that it focuses around one character and everything happens in this one specific town versus, Pokemon where you are an entire region versus an entire town. The scope is a little bit bigger, however, the town is not massive, but it's big enough. The character models are cute and nice looking. The textures are actually pretty nice on the character models. The lighting looks pretty good on them, and the animations are pretty solid. The animations aren't a lot. There aren't a lot of animations that are different, so you'll see repeating some of the same animations, especially attack animations. But I think the models themselves and the textures kind of make up for that. However, the ground textures aren't super pretty. They're a little bit blurry, even in dock mode. So that's a little concerning, but in handheld you really don't notice. The writing for the game is pretty simplistic, so it's very, very kid-friendly. Very more oriented towards children in terms of the writing, which, shouldn't really be a surprise given that it's made by the same people who make Pokemon. One of the things regarding Pokemon that I actually thought was interesting, the main character has his own name. You can select his own name. I chose to go with the stock name, which I believe is Ack, and the main character's color scheme is red, and your rival's is green, which I thought was interesting because it harkens back to maybe that original Pokemon games. So, and red and green, the original rivalry. The battle system is a little bit different than we've previously seen from them. It's still turn-based, however, it plays way more like a trading card game. There's stats for cards, abilities, and spells. You also gain a protective shield, which acts as if your life before you can attack the 3 hearts that you and your enemies have. You can only attack once per turn for a heart. So even if you knock out all of the enemies' defenses, their cards, you have to knock them all out first, and then after you knock out all of the cards, you can attack directly. You can only attack directly once though per turn, so you can only attack their life and dwindle that down. Once that shield is gone, you can attack their health directly, but you can only attack once per turn. The premise and a lot of the way it plays reminds me of early GameCube games as well. The like AA kind of licensed games, real light RPG elements, things like that. There's no real customization so far in what I've played. There's no deck building, so everything is pretty much given to you directly, and then throughout the course of fighting battles, you pick up what are essentially cards throughout the fight by going around the map. The map design is pretty different compared to a lot of things that I've played. There's sections on the map that give you advantages. There's items you can use to attack directly or deal damage, or sometimes there'll be allies and they have different abilities. Some of them deal damage to cards that have already been dealt damage and eliminate those. Some allow you to use cards for free without paying their cost. At the beginning of the game, every fight you start with 3, and then progressively throughout the match you gain more what is essentially points to spend on the cards, and how you manage those and manage the cards versus your opponent's cards makes a very interesting battle system, but it can be quite lengthy. A lot of my fights, especially with the actual bosses, end up pushing towards 20 turns, which for card games is a really long time. But the boss designs are super cool. They're all really interesting and pretty detailed. So because there's not so many blanket enemies, little pawn-like enemies, it seems they could really focus their energy into the designs of those bosses. And so every boss feels unique. They have different abilities and they have different attacks, and so you can't apply the same strategy every time versus what traditionally works in games. Usually you find a winning strategy in a game, you can repeat that all the way until you beat the game. Maybe change it up here and there for bosses, but for the most part, you can stick to one strategy. Doesn't really work like that in this game because of the randomization with the ideas, basically the cards, and with the randomization of your enemy's attacks. So it can be quite challenging given how its target demographic seems to be children, it's not very easy. Like, it's way harder than I anticipated. However, I think the difficulty scales. Based on my experience, I was having a hard time with the boss. I think I lost twice. And when I lost the second time, they changed the amount of attacks he had for the first round. And it completely changed the course of that entire fight. And I actually won because of that. So, take it with a grain of salt. But there may be some scaling there. No difficulty choices, just like in Pokemon. You just start the game up, you start playing it. Overall, I'm enjoying my time with it. It's a nice small game. The fights can be a little bit lengthy, and like I said, the polish isn't necessarily there, but I believe this game was like $25 or $30, so it's not even like half price of a full AAA game. It definitely feels worth the while, and it's definitely a nice in-between game. We have a lot of big games coming up, so this is a nice kind of piecemeal to deal with that and just have something that's more relaxing, more chill, but also challenging. So it's definitely been an interesting game. I'm considering, based on my experiences with it, putting it up there with the possible game of the year. I'm really enjoying it so far. So if you have checked out Little Town Hero, please let us know what you think of it. And if you haven't, please let us know why you haven't got it, or maybe what doesn't interest you or turns you off about it. We know turn-based games aren't really for everybody, especially card-like turn-based games. That may not be your thing. It may be your thing. Either way, I hope you have enjoyed my impressions here, and I hope that it has helped you determine whether or not this game would be right for you. Until next time, friends, I'm Ambassador Michael, and I will leave you with my screenshot bonus round. Goodbye, friends.